everybody out there in YouTube. This is Star with Designs Now. Today, we're going to be remaking these rings. Well, I say remaking because this is obviously, I've got two of them right here. You have not seen this yet. We're specifically going to be recreating this ring. This was the first one. This is the prototype. This is made with a ruby. This one's made with an emerald, as you can see. You can see the similarities in both, and you can also see the differences. Made it a little too big, so hence why the bends in the wire right there. But we're just basically going to be making this plain band, okay, empty band with a minimal wire wrapping and a prong setting for your stone. Okay, these I believe these are 6mm stones, so you can use whatever size stone you choose to use. I'm also using an 18 gauge square wire. The color does not matter. And also I'm using an 18 gauge half round wire. I would suggest, though, excuse me, typically for rings I like to use a 20 gauge wire, but because I get my wire through Parawire, they don't offer 20 gauge in square. And honestly, if you're going to make this ring with 18 gauge square wire, I suggest probably using a 20 or a 21 gauge half round, but it is entirely your choice. You see how it turns out with 18 square and 18 half round, so it's entirely your choice. So we're going to pretty well jump into it. Here is the items that you will need to make this. You will obviously need your wire, you will need your stone, you will need either a ring mandrel or something the same size of a ring base, so to speak, that you would want to have. You obviously will need your flush cutters. You will need some kind of a good small pliers. I've got my Xuron, my brand new ones. I love these. I'm telling you. I love these. I'm so glad I ever got those. And also, you may want to have some kind of a small cut burr. Just something to kind of take the edginess off of the prongs right here. You don't necessarily have to have that, though. You can have just a regular small little nail file will work. Okay, so you don't have to have anything fancy. So we're going to kind of push some stuff off to the side. I'm going to set this kind of up here out of the way, but where you can see it, along with that. Okay, so you're going to start off with your 18 gauge square wire, or whatever gauge you have. I cut off about 6 inches. Now, given I do have large fingers, I wanted my ring in a size 9. So today, I think we're going to make probably a size 7.5 is what I'm going to go with. So I used about 6 inches of wire for this. You want to have enough to make your ring itself, plus have a little bit extra to kind of pull at. So you don't want to have too much. 10 inches may be too much. 6 inches might be too much for you too. But I found 6 inches to be more than enough for what I needed. And of course I'm having to do this off camera. I apologize about that. I'm only using 2 pieces of the square base wire. That's all you need for either one of these. You see how I made the bands. Okay, it's just 2 pieces. Now on the first ring, on the one with the ruby, the wires tended to, you can see, they kind of, instead of being flat, they kind of wanted to turn off to the side, which I kind of liked that look. I really thought that looked really pretty. Now with this one, they started to, but they didn't quite make that. So if you like that look and you want to keep that look, by all means go ahead and do that. That is totally up to you, and that is totally your choice. So, all right, here's our 2 pieces of our square wire. Both are about 6 inches. You see one ended up being just a little bit too long, but that's okay. So you want to get a little piece of your half round wire. I did decide to use this as a little bit of a stabilization to keep the wires together in the back. You do not have to keep that if you do not want to. I like the look, which is why I kept it. So of course, with your half round wire, you want to make sure which side is flat and which side is round, and try to give you a good look here. The side right here is flat, just so you can kind of see. All right, so you want to line them up. You do want to get them very flat next to each other. Okay, keep the flat side close to the wire and just turn it around it, keeping it fairly tight. I like to do 4 times. It seemed to be a fairly good number. So let's see, that technically is 4, but I'm going to go that much more. If you decide to keep this piece, then I would say go ahead, make sure it's about in the middle. Yeah, that looks pretty well in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to flatten it down pretty good. And if you have decided that you want to keep this, you can go ahead and cut the wire ends as well, which I will be doing here in a moment. Let's see. And you can wait. It's totally up to you if you want to keep them or if you want to leave them or what you want to do with it. I always try to remember to cut the flat side. There we go. There we go. And then push that down. Push that down. Get it nice and tight. Now you're probably wondering, okay, if you notice with this one, the wire ends are pointing out because I didn't want them to point in towards the skin and then potentially scratch the skin up. So hence why this is down. Hence why these pliers are awesome. I'm telling you guys, if you have never had Giron brand pliers, really think about it. Think about investing in some. These have made a world of difference in my jewelry. The very few pieces that I have made with them, big difference. Okay. So now that we've got that done, that's just going to keep the wire lined up next to each other, as well as just plain and simply together. So now you get your ring mandrel or whatever it is you have. You want to bring it up to about where you want to have it. And actually, one thing that you can do is you can take a bit of your just leftover wire, or you can go ahead and get a little bit of your wire, and you can go ahead about where you think it'll be and start wrapping to keep those wires together. I did notice, though, if you can tell, the reason why the bare wires kind of wanted to go wonky on me a little bit is because when I went to bend them in, that's when that happened. So if you go ahead and do a little bit of wrapping on either side, leaving plenty extra, that should prevent that. So I think actually that's what we're going to do this time. And see how that goes. And here is my end. I know I'm very unprofessional. I'm not ready at all. But that's okay. That's all right. So I'll get that out. You really don't need a whole lot. That should be more than enough for one side. So we'll cut that. Okay. And again, you want to find your flat side, which is right here. Okay, coming up about right there. Should be plenty. 2. That ought to be enough. Honestly, for the reasoning, that should be enough for right now. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to cut another piece. Okay. And then same thing on this side. Make sure they're nice and flat next to each other. Again, unless you want the look where they're kind of twisted a little bit. 1, 2 and 3. All right, so hopefully we didn't get them too far away from each other, but they can still move, so that's a good thing. And I apologize in advance if I go off camera. I don't mean to. So get it about where you want to have it at. Matter of fact, you may want to have it up or down just a little bit, depending on how your wire moves, depending on what your wire does. So you want to kind of guide it, be kind of gentle. Here's where something else comes in. You want to flail open your wire ends, because you want your wire ends to do this right here. Okay, on the original, on the Ruby, I had my wire ends sitting side by side. On the Emerald, I had them interlocking. So that is a big difference in the two designs of these rings. So it's entirely your choice. On this one, we're going to be opening them up and letting them come together that way. So you can do one at a time, or you can do both at a time. I'm doing kind of both in ways. Okay, so I do need to move that down just a little bit. Move it down some more. See. Alright, so you probably want to have it a little bit higher than the size that you want, because you see it kind of does have a little bit of a spring back, and that's okay, because this wire right now is not necessarily to do much of anything but keep the wires like this instead of them, you know, going like that. Pretty much all that's for. So, and as you can see, it kind of can be a little bit tough, but that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So now, at this point, what we want to do is, if you want to do another rotation or two, or however many, on the band right here, okay, you can do that now. You can do however many you want. I pretty well kept it to about, 4, I believe. I didn't want it to look too, too cluttered, I guess you kind of say. I didn't want to have too much going on. I wanted this to be a very simple, kind of an elegant looking ring. Woo! And there went my ruby. Don't go away. So at this point, I am going to go ahead and clip off that end and set that aside, and I will go ahead and push that down. There we go. Okay, so now, let's see. And I can see now, I've got my, wow, holy smokes, that got way out of line, didn't it, huh? That is crazy what happened to that. Let's see. There we go. That's a little bit better. Don't ask me. I don't know. So I'm just going to bring this wires up a little bit. And at this point, whoop, I'm going to drop my thing. Yeah. I'm going to bring this up some to meet up right behind my wires. This point, you can go ahead, thread this through one more time. Okay, so actually that made 5. I didn't really mean for it to, but that's okay. So at this point, that's when we're going to go ahead and we're going to cross over all 4 wires. Okay, so we're making our little seat. We're making the little seat at this point our little stone is going to be sitting on. This point can be just a little bit tricky. So if you want, what you can do, you can get your wires to try to go as flat as you can, and you can see, bend those base wires up so they can kind of go down. Okay, and this will create a much more flat base for this flat half round wire to sit on. Okay, and they're going to kind of flare out, and that's okay. You kind of want that a little bit. I want this wire to be as tight together as possible. Okay. The whole time that you're using this half round wire, you need to be careful. Unless you want the the flat part to show, be very careful, because it will, it won't look right. It'll look twisted around, and it doesn't look so great. Not in my eyes, at least. So, again, trying to get it really good and tight. Keeping it flat, and I'm hoping I'm staying on camera. So, next to itself, feed it through, get it fairly tight. And you can see I'm flattening this wire down with every rotation on this, because if you don't, it'll just go wonky on you. It really, really will. Let's see. It's not as tight on this side as I would like for it to be, but it's hard, very, very hard to get it otherwise. So, I actually do need to tighten that other side up. There we go. Much better. Okay, and I'm going to do one more rotation, and that'll be all that we need. So I actually got way too much of this half round wire, but you know what? It's okay. Because like I said, you only really needed a few inches, and that's it. Only a few inches. Okay. Get that tight, and now you just kind of want to get this wire to kind of go off to the side and out of the way, because now you want to use this wire. Whoops. Okay, and so we're going to kind of get this to behave. Bring it out and around, and see it's wanting to move. Okay, and at this point I'm going to go ahead right now, right here, right now, flatten these down really nice and tight. Okay, hopefully I am not going off camera, because I don't mean to. If I do, keep that nice and tight and flat. Ooh. And I just, I did that, didn't I? So, there we go. Here's a boo-boo that you can make. Don't make my boo-boo. We'll see if we can fix it. And I know how we can fix it. We can just redo this, because this is a smaller piece. So, okay. Not getting it off. Ooh. How about this? How about the smaller side? There we are. Okay. Whoopsie. Alright, so that was not my plan. But you know what? That's okay. So we're going to start all over. Okay. And I'm not going to edit this out. I wanted you guys, I'm glad that kind of happened so you could see it. So you can kind of plan accordingly. Don't push your wires too much. So, what I like to do on the other is I did like this right here. I fed it through that way. Made it a bit easier. Gave me something to actually hold on to. So that first wrap, if you could see it, was a little loose, but it's okay, because you can go back in and you can actually tighten that up manually. And just feed them through. Alright, so I'm going to stop with that one. So now again, like I said, that one's awfully loose. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to loosen it up a little more. And I'm going to get it to bend properly. I'm also going to tighten this up real quick. Alright. Okay. See. There we go. Alright. Okie dokie. So that looks much better. So now I've got 3 wraps right here. I'm going to do my 4th going through. Because if you want them to match on either side, then It's not quite time for that yet. I'm actually going to go ahead right now, bend that up a little more. Move that out of the way. Bend that up a little more to tighten that up. I want that super duper tight where there's hardly any space between. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, let's see. I'm going to get this to lay down. Okay, and then over all four. And because I didn't leave myself much wire this time, and actually because we don't need our base to be this wide, so we can go on ahead and let's see, let's loosen this up. I got lucky with this one. I didn't have to do all of this. It was the perfect size. I was like, wow, how did I do that? How did I do that? But I got lucky, like I said. So I'm just going to come in about right here. Yeah, about right there. And I want these wires again to come up next to it. Whoop. As close as I can get it. Alright, there we go. So, get it to lay flat on all four wires. Get all four wires lined up nice and pretty. If you can see that. Okay. Get this one to come out this way. Get it to flatten down, tighten up real well. There we go. Okay, and then back around. Tighten up. And again, it is still a little bit wide. Didn't really want it to be that big. So, in this case, I'm seeing that my area is too big for... Whoop! Ooh! I almost lost it. It's too big for my stone, as you can kind of see. It's just too much. You don't need that much. You maybe need, what, 3 centimeters? No, not even centimeters, but maybe 5 millimeters, something like that. You know, kind of small. But this is too big. So, what I'm going to do, and I kind of almost hate doing this, I'm going to loosen that up. Get you an extra pair of pliers. Grab a hold of one side. Grab a hold of the other side. And pull. Pull, 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 pull. Not too much. Gently. Okay. There we go. That's exactly what I wanted. Maybe not quite as much, but you know, you wanted to tighten it up. That's what I wanted to do. That was my goal. And that's what I did. Okay. So if you see all that right off the bat you have it too big, you can go ahead and tighten it up before you get too far. Because if you do that too late in the game, then you're stuck with what size ring you've got. Okay, so just feed it through. Flatten it down. Okay. Now, with this one, let's see. Have it go over one more time. And I could stand to have a little bit more space. So we're going to kind of lift this up a little bit. And get our pliers in there. Kind of make a little bit of room. It's okay. Okay. Feed that wire down in there. There we go. Pretty good. Pretty good. So now, there we go. That's looking much better. Alright, so now at this point, I just knocked something off my table. So now we kind of have a little bit of space here, but not much. And not enough either, because the way that I did with these is the wire, because I had one piece of wire on either side and they came together, they met in the middle, just like this one needs to, it met perfectly. And that way, the wire ends on the top underneath the stone. It will never cut you, will never hurt you, never do nothing. So you gotta make a little room. If yours ends up kind of like mine, and it doesn't quite want to fit, you gotta have to make it fit. Get those wires nice and tight in there. Get that down. Get that down where you want it, how you want it, okay? Now again, so you see, it fits perfectly. So now what we want to do, we want to lift it up a little bit, and about halfway or so, cut that off, lay it down flat. Now this one is going to do the same thing. I keep hitting this. Lay it down flat, lift up a little bit, try to cut about the same. Let's see if you can get them to meet perfectly in the middle. Almost perfect. There's just the tiniest little gap, but you know what? That gap right there won't never be seen because you will have your stone underneath it. So, yay! So at this point, you can, if you choose to, you can kind of straighten these wires back out. You do want to make sure one going this way for either corner. Same for this side. And with this wire, I almost forgot about it. Again, it's going to kind of come out to the side. And you're going to trim it up. Okay. And you're going to flatten it down. And especially the very, very end, you want to make sure you really push pretty good. Like not too hard, but enough that you don't feel it anymore. Okay. So now we have the perfect size ring base. Okay. Whoopsie. So now what I want to do before I get too far is I want to come through and I want to get this all good and tight so it looks good. Tighten that up. I'm going to come through. I'm going to tighten this up. Woo. Alright, so that's about as tight as I can get it. And I'm going to come in like this. I'm going to straighten this out a little bit. There we go. Same for this one. I'm going to straighten it out just so it looks better for me. Alright. Okay. And again, you want one going to each corner. Now, this wire and this wire, because they're both from the middle, they're not going to be perfect, but it will be, as you can see, it'll be pretty well good enough. Okay, and you can always just kind of manipulate the wire and get it to go where you want it to. Just don't do it too much or it will break. So then you want to set your stone in. You want to make sure it looks good. You also want to make sure that you are okay with the little gap on either side. I got lucky on this one and it did perfectly. So, what now? And again, you know, I do want to come in. I want to bring this wire up. And let's see. You always want to do your cross wires. Again, I do want to bring this in as much as I can to fill in that gap. There we go. And again on this side as well, fill that gap in as much as I can. All right, so now you want to take your stone. This is really honestly the trickiest part of it all. You want to get your wire down on your stone and crisscross. So if you've got that right, you should be able to do just this right here. Maybe not shake it around, but hold it. Okay, so now you come in with your flush cutters, and wherever it is that you may want to cut your wire at, I'm going to cut about right here. Okay, And let's see. And you got to remember, you see that stone's still moving because I don't have it, you know, tight yet. So it's okay. You want to gauge about how far you cut that previous wire and try to cut this one about the same. So I'm going to cut this right here. Woo! Went flying. Now, if you want right now, you can go ahead and tighten these down, and they should hold the stone semi-decently at least. Okay. And it's holding it a little bit. Oop, maybe not. And that's okay, because we don't have all 4 prongs on there yet. So now I'm going to go ahead and cross this one over. And as you can see, I'm trying to get this wire to be as tight on this stone as possible right here, right now. So that I don't have to do a lot of moving to this final wire piece. Get that pretty tight. Cut this down. Okay. So now I'm going to come in, tighten the prongs. If you have, let's see, let's get these tightened down first. And I just realized I wasn't even on camera. Oh! So, let's see. I still have a pretty good gap on this one, so I want to get that fairly tight. And also, if you need to make any other kind of adjustments on the prongs themselves, go ahead and do so. And, nope, he's a little loose, but he is okay. And also, if you need to make any trim up your wires any, do so now. There we go. Yep, that's pretty good. Just try to get the wire ends as tight on that stone as possible, so you do not have any hesitation that it's going to fall off, that the stone is going to fall off. Okay. Still a little loose, but we probably could have done one less row on the bottom. So keep that in mind if you make anything in the future from this. So I see my ring itself has kind of gotten a bit wonky. So I'm going to try to go in here, which this did not happen to me earlier when I made my emerald. So I'm not sure what entirely happened with that. Okay, so I'm going to go to US size. Here we go. And this should hopefully also help to, let's see, it ends up being quite a bit smaller. Wow. Let's see, I'm actually going to try to push that down pretty well to get it to lay flat. It helped a little bit. Okay, yeah. So let's see. Just sliding it on. Okay, so now it's a 7. That's not bad. That's not bad. I was aiming for a 7.5 and it ended up being 7. That's pretty good. So I see also I've got a little gap right there. But it's okay because my wires, my bare wires are flat against each other. This looks pretty good. I'm going to tighten this up just a little bit. That down. Okay. And then go through here one more time. If you have a way that you can buff your wires out, you probably want to, because mine like look a little, you know. But anyway, so there you go. There's your final product. And to explain super duper quick, the reason being that I have those bends in mine, which ended up having to sit perfectly. This ring actually just about fit on this finger. I wanted it for this finger, but it was a little too big. So I just simply took my pliers, I separated those out, I made a little bend, opposite directions on either side, and it sized it down just a little bit, just enough to make it perfect in its size. And you know what? There you go. Like I said, there's your finished product. There's your finished ring. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you can think of any way that you can improve on this design, please give me a shout. You can also use your little cut burr and kind of whittle away a little bit at the ends, or your nail file to get that smoothed down so that it's not so sharp. That's really good now. And yeah, so that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button down below. Any comments, questions, or even suggestions for future videos, please leave those down in the comments as well. And until the next video, you guys, have a great day. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.